It's official. The Warriors are in a play-in, and they have no one to blame but themselves. Losing 3 straight home games to end the regular season, and proceed to lose to Houston, San Antonio, and now the Clippers. That's basically what it comes down to, because the Warriors were in complete control of their own destiny. Championship teams find a way to win these type of games, so off to the play-in they go. But before we get to that, let's talk about this game against the Clippers. Let's start with Jonathan Kuminga getting a DNP, because that's probably the biggest storyline of the game. So Steve Kerr and the Warriors coaching staff decided before this game that Jonathan Kuminga wouldn't be a part of the rotation. They didn't like this matchup for him. We're now in year 4, and Jonathan Kuminga is still getting DNPs. What an absolute disaster. I think there's plenty of blame to go around on both sides. The Warriors haven't done the greatest job developing Kuminga, but on the other end, there's certain aspects of Kuminga's game that if he simply improved on, it would make him undeniable in the rotation. I think Kuminga needs to fire his agent and his trainer. His agent has to go because his counsel has not been sound. The Warriors reportedly offered Kuminga a contract similar to Jalen Johnson of the Atlanta Hawks, something around like $150 million. It would have came out to around $30 million a year for Kuminga. Now look, I'll never blame a guy for having that ultimate confidence and wanting to bet on himself, but Kuminga should have took that guaranteed money. 150 M's guaranteed. That's a generational bag. And Jalen Johnson's a good comp for Kuminga. Both around the same age, both play the same position, and they have similar physical profiles. But at this point in time, I think it's safe to say Jalen Johnson's the better player. So if him and his agent had enough sense to accept that 150 M's, Kuminga probably should have done the same. I think $30 million a year is more than fair. Now the way things are going, with possibly more DNPs on the way in the playoffs, the truth is, after the Warriors traded for Jimmy Butler, they simply didn't need Kuminga to be that second option. They needed him to slot to that third option and be way more of a defensive-minded role player. And the reason he should fire his trainer is because I don't think his training has been tailored to what the Warriors need of him. The expectation that Kuminga and his team has for himself. To be straight up, Kuminga's trying to be Kawhi Leonard. He wants to be that type of player. All his training is tailored towards being a focal point of an offense. Now look, I'm not saying he shouldn't work on his offensive game, because he should. But just based off his progression, now 4 years into his career, there hasn't been enough improvement defensively. And for a wing that has every tool and physical attribute possible to be an elite stopper, it's just a little disappointing. Because if JK was an elite defender with his size on the perimeter, that would basically guarantee him playing time every game. So it's just tough. The Kuminga and Jimmy pairing has not been good. And that's the thing. With Steph off the court, you have to optimize the role players around Jimmy. That's going to maximize his talents. And Jimmy and Kuminga just hasn't been good together. Number one, Kuminga's not a floor spacer. And he's not really a playmaker. He's not spacing the floor for Jimmy. And he's not creating opportunities for him. Kuminga's at his best with the ball in his hands. But here's the thing, Jimmy's better than Kuminga at everything. Why would you put the ball in Kuminga's hands over Jimmy's hands when Jimmy's the superior player? It doesn't make any sense. But if you don't put the ball in Kuminga's hands, how is he adding value to that lineup? So in a sense, I could see where the Warriors coaching staff is coming from. But I do think the Warriors probably could have used Kuminga this game. Because although Kuminga's not as consistent as GP2 defensively from night to night, Kawhi Leonard and James Harden was absolutely frying Moses Moody and GP2. Harden was just blowing by both of them like they weren't even there. This is one of those games where a 6'7" athletic wing would come in handy defensively. Kawhi had 30 points and 7 assists. Harden had 38 points and 10 assists. So they combined for 68 points and 17 assists. The Warriors' point of attack defense was non-existent. Now Moody did have his moments defensively as a playmaker. He picked Harden and Norman Powell's pockets. He had a couple more steals in a block. So like I said, he was making plays defensively. But in terms of on-ball defense, he was getting absolutely fried. He had no chance to stand in front of Harden, who blew past not just him, but GP2 as well. Kawhi basically got whatever he wanted. And while Jimmy can match Kawhi in terms of size and strength, Jimmy doesn't have the longest wingspan, and Kawhi was just shooting right over him. The only player the Warriors had that can bother Kawhi one-on-one was Draymond. But Draymond's a help defender, and he's the one trying to box out Zubac. Now, I'm not saying Kuminga would have locked up Harden or Kawhi, but just having another option, a big-body perimeter player that's athletic and has length, that's just an extra look defensively you could throw at a team. The Warriors had the Clippers flustered in the first quarter defensively due to their swarming defense. But once the Clippers settled in, they abused the Warriors' point of attack defense. You can't let Kawhi and Harden combine for 68 points and 17 assists. You didn't make those dudes feel uncomfortable at all. Now, somehow, some way, they were able to keep Norman Powell in check, someone who usually deep fries the Warriors. But when you got Kawhi going for 30, Harden going for 30, and then you got Zubac looking like prime Will Chamberlain, it's tough, bro. It's frustrating because the Warriors started this game off good. They went on a 13-1 run in the first quarter, and they were up 33-25 in the first. But after that, the Clippers adjusted and the game was a lot more tight. One of the biggest areas of the game that cost the Warriors was the rebounding. The Warriors got destroyed 42-25 on the boards, in large part due to Zubac. The dude's a huge human being, so I get it. But I'm looking at the starting lineup, and Draymond, Jimmy, and Moses Moody combined for 4 rebounds total. Come on, man, that's just not gonna get it done. It must have been at least 6 or 7 possessions where the Warriors played great defense initially, but couldn't come up with the rebound. Now, there were pockets of the game where the Warriors were playing zone, and positionally, it is harder to rebound out of the zone. But there was also a lot of long rebounds and 50-50 balls that the Clippers beat the Warriors to. I know Kuminga not playing is the story of the game, but I think Gee for sure should have played. In this type of setting against a big team like the Clippers, when you're deploying a small ball lineup with Draymond at the center, you gotta play Gee. He's one of the best rebounders on the team for his size. All those 50-50 balls the Warriors couldn't get to, Gee's getting them. All those long rebounds the Warriors just couldn't grab, He's grabbing it. When you're committed to small ball and you're playing 6'6" Draymond, you gotta have more positional size around him to help with team rebounding. He's 6'8", he's a big dude. You just gotta have him out there. They should have gave all of Buddy's minutes to Gee and some of GP2's minutes too. I'm not saying playing Gee would have guaranteed the Warriors a win, but I do think playing him would have made the rebound battle a lot more manageable. Now defensively, Gee's gonna get cooked, but in those possessions where the Warriors do get a stop, at least Gee is gonna finish off the defensive possession with a rebound. Now there were some positive takeaways from this game. Number one, playoff Jimmy showed up. Jimmy Butler was aggressive from the jump, and he was unstoppable. He was relentlessly headhunting that mismatch against Bogdanovich. Absolutely destroyed him in ISO. Now I will give Kirk credit. After the Jimmy Butler edition, he's allowing a lot more ISO and a lot more mismatch hunting, which is something he's never really relented on in the past. It's always been system or bust, but now with Jimmy in the fold, Kirk's playing to his strengths. Butler finished the game with 30 points and 9 assists. He shot 12 of 20 from the field and went 6 of 9 on free throws. People were actually questioning whether or not Jimmy had an extra gear in him, and this game answers that question. When Jimmy's looking to score, he's really hard to stop, and this Clippers team is one of the best defenses in the league, and it was nothing they could do to slow him down. Butler ended up playing 48 minutes this game, and he got hit in the quad with a flying knee from Kawhi. He came up hobbling, and he was hobbling the rest of the game. All right, let's talk about Steph Curry. Steph finished with 36 points, 6 assists, going 10 for 20 from the field, 7 of 12 from 3, and 9 of 9 from the free throw line. He started the game off a little slow with 2 early fouls, but he picked it up in the fourth quarter in overtime, scoring over 20 points. Scoring-wise, Steph was pretty unstoppable down the stretch, but he did have 8 turnovers, and a lot of them were pretty bad. And Ty Lue deployed some of the best coverages on Steph in terms of blitzing, but you can't turn the ball over 8 times. Steph just has to take better care of the ball. All right, lastly, let's talk about Draymond Green. Draymond ended up going to the locker room in the first quarter with a neck sprain. It was him and I believe Norman Powell running for a loose ball, and he ended up getting his noggin rocked. He left the game, but he ended up being fine. Draymond had his moments. I believe he hit 3 threes this game, and he had a huge stop on Kawhi and ISO in the fourth quarter, but the rebounding was atrocious. Now look, I know he has a box solid Vika Zubac, who's like 7 feet tall, and he probably has like 50 pounds on Draymond. And it was definitely some team rebounds he was responsible for by boxing out and allowing his teammates to grab it. But I'm sorry, I still need more than 3 rebounds from the starting center, and more than 4 rebounds combined from the starting front court. And then there's Draymond's worst play of the game. He smoked a wide open layup with 26 seconds left in OT. When you watch the replay, first of all, Draymond, what are you doing, bruh? When he caught the ball, instead of going up for just a normal layup, he tries to draw a foul by throwing himself back into the defender. Draymond, just take the layup, man. If he actually went up with the intention of scoring a basket, there's no way he misses that. Well, actually, he still might miss it, but at least he has a better chance of making it. I don't know if he was scared he was going to get blocked, so he just wanted to get the 2 free throws, or if he was trying to draw contact, so he had a chance at the and one to take the lead. I don't know what was going on in his head, but Draymond, just take the layup, man. And also, why does it take GP2 so long to process the play and make this read? When GP2 catches the ball, there should be an immediate pass. Draymond's wide open with a passing angle. This ball has to be delivered way sooner, but the Warriors end up losing overtime, and they're now officially going to the play-in. The Warriors host the Memphis Grizzlies on Tuesday. Whoever wins is the 7th seed going up against the Rockets. And by the way, although I wanted the Lakers, the Rockets are probably the best matchup for the Warriors in the first round. So if they take care of business against the Grizzlies, that's an ideal matchup for them. But if the Warriors were to lose against the Grizzlies, they'll then host the winner of the Mavs-Sacramento play-in game. The winner becomes the 8th seed and faces OKC in the first round. But if the Warriors were to lose that game as well, no playoffs and the season's over. So this game against Memphis is an absolute must-win. You do not want your entire season to come down a one-off game against a desperate team. Are the Warriors more talented than the Grizzlies, Mavs, and Kings? Absolutely. But in one game, anybody can beat anybody. So this Clippers loss was pretty bad. But if they lose against the Grizzlies on Tuesday, things are going to get dire, but they will be at home, and I think they do match up well against the Grizzlies. And a matchup note, the Grizzlies starting forward Jalen Wells, who they use as their primary defender on Steph, is out with a broken wrist. I mean, it's not like he was stopping Steph in the first place. I mean, we all saw what Steph did to the Grizzlies a few weeks ago. 50 burger. So not having him available defensively means even less options for the Grizzlies guarding Steph, which is great news for the Warriors. The Warriors should win that game, but all it takes is the other team getting hot from 3 and it's a wrap. It's unfortunate the Warriors are in this situation, but they have no one to blame but themselves. You drop that home game against the Rockets, you drop that home game against the Spurs, and you drop this home game against the Clippers. It's frustrating to think that Harrison Barnes game winner sent the Warriors to the play-in. I guess Harry B finally got his revenge. Anyways, that's all I got for y'all. If I entertained you or you learned something new, do me a favor. Hit the subscribe button. I'll holler at you on the next one. Peace.